Moinsen, liebe Rätselfreunde und willkommen zurück zu Let's Play Gabriel Knight. Ja, das letzte Mal haben wir so ein bisschen die Steuerung uns angeguckt, das Inventar erkundet. Wir haben die Pinzette, die Lupe, einen Gutschein, Haargel und eine Taschenlampe mit uns. Jetzt geht es daran, die Leute zu befragen, beziehungsweise erst noch mit der Grace zu sprechen. Da sehen wir auch gleich das Dialogmenü.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Ja, so einiges. Und zwar hat man hier oben so allgemeine Fragen, die eigentlich eher weniger relevant sind, um weiterzukommen im Spiel. Hier unten diese farbig markierten Nachrichten, die sind schon wichtiger. Aber am Anfang, denke ich mal, gehen wir mal alles durch hier.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
I didn't know much of anything about it until you started researching it for your book. Now I know that it's active in the city. There's that shop and museum. It can clearly be dangerous in the wrong hands. You should be careful investigating it.
Jo, da sind wir. Man kann auch die Dialoge mehrmals anklicken, also die Wörter, dann kommen mal andere Sachen hier.
What do you know
Aber wir
about
fragen mal
voodoo
weiter.
murders?
Just what I read in the paper, same as you.
Genau, also viel mehr als wir weiß sie eigentlich auch nicht. Also eigentlich über die Voodoo-Morde und das, was in der Zeitung stand.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
Well, I've only been here 2 months, but I love it. It's so much more alive than any place I've been. It feels like anything's possible here.
Na, das lädt doch ein, nach New Orleans zu ziehen.
Tell
Dann
me
fragen wir
about
mal über sie
yourself,
selbst.
Grace.
Yeah, right, Knight.
I mean it.
What do you want to know?
Ja, und jetzt tun sich noch mehrere Abgründe hier auf.
How come you haven't gone out yet?
I'm still waiting around for that lobotomy. As soon as I get it, I'll let you know.
How do you like working at St. George's Books?
Well, it's not exactly a huge intellectual challenge. Although the math in your record books could confuse Einstein. Still, I love old books, and it's a nice way to pay the bills while I explore the city for a summer. If you ever pay me, that is.
Ja, fragen wir mal weiter hier.
What do you do after work?
Well, I either go to my oil painting class or my Tai Chi. You know that.
You know, you can go overboard with this improving yourself stuff. You don't want to alienate us mere mortals.
I suppose I should just allow my mind and body to atrophy.
Works for me. How old are you?
Old enough to know about men like you.
Okay, wir sind wohl ein ganz schlimmer Finger hier.
Just tell me anything at all.
I just got my master's in history and classics. My folks wanted me to go on right away for my PhD, but 18 years of school was enough. I needed a break.
Nothing, I guess. Never mind.
Suit yourself.
Das soll erstmal fürs Erste reichen. Jetzt, die hat ja gesagt am Anfang, dass sie ein paar Nachrichten für uns hat. Da werden wir gleich mal
Do you
nachfragen.
have messages for me?
Dana called, and Susie left a message about a lawsuit.
Toss 'em.
Okie dokie. There's more when you want 'em.
Klar
You
wollen wir.
have more messages for me?
Your grandmother called.
I keep meaning to get over there. What does she say? Did she sound good?
She sounded great, and we had a nice little chat about you.
Grace.
Don't worry. I didn't go into detail about your cardinal sins. Not that anything about you could surprise her. She adores you anyway.
She's my girl.
But she said to remind you to stop by and go through your father's things.
Okay.
Genau, jetzt haben wir einen neuen Ort bekommen. Also wir fahren nachher zur Großmutter. Da, die quetschen wir auch wieder aus hier.
You have more messages for me?
Here's a strange one. You got a call from someone named Wolfgang Ritter. He said he was calling from Germany. He told me it was urgent, maybe you should give him a call.
Call Germany. Like hell. If it's really important, he'll call back.
Well, fine. Let's just hope he's not with the German lottery for pitiful American authors.
Okay, ob sie noch weitere Nachrichten für uns
You
hat?
have more messages for me?
Your friend Detective Mosley called. Talkative, isn't he?
Especially with you. What do you want?
He left an interesting message. He told me to tell you that his mother's maiden name is Humphrey. Oh, that's Humphrey.
Fascinating.
And that he left some photos for you at the station, at the front desk.
It's about time.
Gabriel, those photos wouldn't have anything to do with the voodoo murders, would they?
Now, why would you say something like that?
Because I know you. You're getting privileged information, aren't you? Did you tell him you'd put him in a new voodoo book?
A writer has some obligation to his readers, you know.
Gabriel, you know you'll never put him in your book. Your main character is a female orthodontist. You're gonna be reincarnated as a pit bull if you keep screwing with your karma.
As long as it's a male pit bull with a really big...
That's enough. Thanks. Anyway, that's all the message is. Thank God.
Okay, dann haben wir erstmal alle Nachrichten abgehört, also uns vortragen lassen. Nachforschung können wir noch nicht anstellen, erst am Ende des Tages meistens, dann endet auch der Tag. Wir beenden mal kurz das Gespräch und drehen erstmal die Musik leiser. Ich finde die ein bisschen laut. So. Na komm. Okay. Ja, jetzt können wir aufbrechen in die Stadt. Wir haben hier soweit erstmal alles, denke ich. Also erstmal raus hier. In, ja, Schrittgeschwindigkeit.
I've got some things I need to do.
Uh-huh.
Also wie man gesehen hat, ist die Grace schon ein bisschen besorgt um uns. So, jetzt haben wir einen Hinweis bekommen, die Großmutter will uns sprechen, dass wir den Dachboden da unsicher machen. Und unser Freund Mosley, der bei der Polizei arbeitet, hat uns Fotos dagelassen. Ich denke, wir werden erstmal zur Oma fahren, die wohnt außerhalb des französischen Viertels. Ja, fetzige Animation hier.
Gabriel, I'm so glad you stopped by.
Sorry it's been a while, Grandma.
Not at all. Give us a kiss. Now come and sit down. Tell me how you're doing.
So, jetzt können wir die befragen oder gleich den Dachboden untersuchen.
Can we
Wir fragen
talk,
erstmal ein
Gran?
bisschen.
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
Oh, my boy.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? What an odd question, Gabriel. Of course, you always were interested in monster movies and all that other weird stuff. You get that from your father and granddad. I don't know anything about it, dear. Of course, it was very big in New Orleans at one time, but you don't hear about it so much these days. Too much else in the world to worry about, I guess.
Okay.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Oh, Gabriel, nothing. And I don't want to. I sometimes wonder what this world is coming to.
Ja, wer fährt nicht zu seiner Oma, um die über Voodoo-Morde auszuquetschen?
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
New Orleans is very southern. Of course, though, not as much as it used to be when I was a girl. It's gotten much more influenced by the East Coast and that California stuff. Still, it hasn't changed as much as other places, I reckon. We've always been happy here.
Okay. Ja, wenn wir jetzt wieder auf sie selbst klicken, dann kriegen wir wieder eine ganze Ladung an Fragen.
Tell me about yourself.
Me? Oh, surely you have something more interesting to talk about.
Oh, come on, Gran.
All right, dear. What do you want to hear?
Naja, eigentlich nix, aber naja, fangen wir mal an.
What do you do all day?
You know how I love to knit and work in my garden? I also take long walks. It's the only way to keep an old body like mine from stiffening up.
You're not old.
Oh, don't be foolish. I'm older than the hills.
Tell me about before you met Granddaddy.
Well, you know I was born Rebecca Wright. My daddy owned a lot of land outside of town. We grew peas, corn, cotton, all kinds of things. It was a good childhood, but my father was very strict. He didn't much let me out of his sight.
Tell me how you met Granddaddy.
I met Harrison at a church revival. There was a traveling preacher back then, a big fella named Reverend Jim. I even remember his slogan, "Come to me to find your way." Your granddad was sitting right behind me and my girlfriend Alma, and at one point, old Reverend Jim was flinging his hair around with his fire and brimstone antics, and a piece of it, one of those small add-on do's for man, went flying off. I swear, Harrison and I were the only ones that noticed. We both started laughing to beat the band. Everyone looked at us like we were a couple of loonies. It was then I knew that he was for me.
Oh mein Gott, selbst Alma ist in diesem Spiel unterwegs. Naja.
How you feeling these days?
Fit as a fiddle, and don't you worry your head about it.
Ja.
Oh, nothing, never mind.
All right, dear.
Das andere führt meistens zu nichts. Dann fragen wir mal ein bisschen über die Familie.
Tell me about our family.
Who would you like to hear about? Your granddad, your father, or your mother?
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad immigrated to America when he was 21. He worked his way through school, met and married me, and we had your father, Philip.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad supported me and your father with bookkeeping. I'll tell you what, though, he hated every minute of it. Didn't really like bookkeeping one bit. Maybe that was why he had the worst luck with jobs. The nights he'd come home afraid to tell me he'd lost another. And I would tell him it didn't matter to me. But he felt ashamed, Gabriel.
Okay, wir kriegen immer andere Antworten, wenn wir draufklicken. Versuchen wir das Ganze
Tell
nochmal.
me something about Granddad.
Harrison was only 36 when he died. Your father was 8 years old at the time. Your granddad was hit by a streetcar in the business district.
Aua.
Took me nearly a year to believe he was really gone.
I'm sorry, Gran.
I know you are, dear.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Did you know that your granddad was a poet? He was! He wrote the most beautiful poetry for me when we were courting. I always thought he should have done something with that gift. But he was such a practical man. Didn't believe in chasing after dreams.
Ja.
Tell me something about Granddad.
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
Okay, das ist das Ende. Das machen wir mit den anderen jetzt
Tell me
genauso.
about my father.
Your father was my only child. How we adored him. Philip suffered from terrible nightmares, just like your granddad did. They were 2 peas in a pod.
Aha, wir sind auch von Albträumen geplagt. Das scheint wohl in der Familie zu liegen.
Tell me about my father.
When Philip met your mother, it was love at first sight. They were married 2 weeks later. Never looked at a girl seriously until then, and he looked at plenty. You have your father's way with women, Gabriel, and your granddad's.
Tell me about my father.
I wanted to just lay down and die when he and your mother were killed in that car crash when you were only 8. It was the thought of taking care of you that kept me going, Gabriel. The police say your father swerved off the road after being frightened by something. Perhaps a deer in the road or a wild cat.
Ja, da erfahren wir nochmal, dass unsere Eltern beim Autounfall gestorben sind.
Tell me about my father.
Your granddad wanted Philip to have a normal life. He was obsessed by that thought. He pushed Philip to go to law school. Philip was driven to art. He painted almost in a daze. He would get so inside himself when he worked.
Tell me about my father.
He always hated it that it was Margaret's money that supported the 3 of you when his painting couldn't. I kept telling him, try something more cheerful, like a landscape or two. But he couldn't do it. His work was just too dark and disturbing for the public, you know.
Tell me about my father.
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
Okay, dann hätten wir den auch durch. Dann über die Margaret Templeton
Tell me
Knight.
about my mother.
Your mother was Margaret Templeton when your father met her. She came from a very wealthy Creole family in New Orleans. She was beautiful and reckless. She was madly in love with your father, of course, but I also think she liked defying her family. Since you're so interested in family history these days, why don't you go by St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and visit the family tomb? It would be a sweet gesture.
Maybe I will.
Okay.
Tell me about my mother.
Your mother's family refused to give her money after the marriage. All she had left was a modest trust fund from a great aunt, who happened to like Philip. The remainder of your mother's trust fund became yours when she died. That's what you used to open your bookshop.
Also wir haben den Buchladen von unserem Erbe
Tell me
gekauft.
about my mother.
The Templetons are all gone now. Every last one of them. They never wanted anything to do with us, of course. What a waste.
Okay.
Tell me about my mother.
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
Okay, dann haben wir die Mutti auch durch.
You know, you get prettier every time I see you.
You.
Ja, wir sind schon einer. Okay, damit hätten wir erstmal alles hier durch. Und ich würde sagen, in der nächsten Folge erkunden wir den Dachboden. Ja, tut mir leid, diese Folge, ich habe es ja letztes Mal schon angekündigt, ist ein bisschen dialoglastig, wie einige andere Parts in Zukunft auch extrem dialoglastig sein werden. Also noch ein bisschen extremer als bei Siberia. Die Action, ja, die nimmt schon noch auf, aber wir erkunden erstmal die Welt und fragen erstmal alles Mögliche aus, bevor es richtig zur Sache geht und wir tiefer und tiefer in die Geschehnisse eintauchen. Ich bedanke mich fürs Zuschauen und ich hoffe, wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal wieder. Bis dann. Tschüss.